Everything about it, just, the Lakers, Magic Johnson, California, it all sounds good, but to me it's the worst place he could go.
Why?
Because they're not going to win unless Boogie Cousins and Paul George are all going with him.
You need both guys.
You need both of those guys. They don't have enough to win now with just LeBron and another guy, especially with how the West is shaping up. With Houston's going to get better, the Warriors are going to get better, other teams, Portland's going to get better, other teams are going to get better. I just don't see him going there and being successful. I see him going there for other reasons. Maybe getting ownership of the team somewhere down the line or something like that. But as far as playing basketball, winning championships, and helping his legacy, going there would not do that.
All right, so I tend to agree with you that basketball-wise it's the worst fit.
The worst.
But let me present an argument to you. Do you think if the Cavs had won Game 1 of the NBA Finals...
We wouldn't even talk about this.
Well, just real quick, if they had won Game 1, do you think it could have been a competitive NBA Finals?
Yes, of course.
Would Paul George have clearly been LeBron's second-best teammate on the Cavs this year?
By far.
Okay, so if you're LeBron, don't you think you could make the argument, man, with nobody, I made it through 7-game series in Indiana. I won Game 6 and 7 against Boston without even Kevin Love, with Jeff Green playing.
I won Game 1, really.
I won Game 1 with no teammates, right? If you give me Paul George, the rest of the guys aren't going to be worse than the rest of the guys I played with in Cleveland.
Correct.
So don't you think LeBron could make the case in his own head? If I just bring one guy with me to L.A., we're going to be way better than we were in Cleveland. And in Cleveland, if Game 1 goes a different way, we're close. Does that resonate to you at all?
Yes, you will be better than Cleveland, but you're still in the Western Conference.
You got to get to that.
That's the biggest thing. You're in the Western Conference. It's a totally different monster in the Western Conference.
Well, look, the East is the JV to the West. But I also think that one of the things that Chris Broussard said, the idea of signing CP3 and signing LeBron James and then trading.
Paul George.
Look, if that's the way, that's one possible way it goes down. I think what Chris is getting at is the Lakers aren't tethered to really anybody on their roster outside of maybe Kyle Kuzma. They love Kuzma. Okay? They like Lonzo Ball a lot. They think he can be really good.
Ingram?
They like Ingram. They don't think he's got a ton of dog in him.
Expendable.
Everybody else is expendable. All those other guys that Mitch brought in, they just got to find a way to stretch Luol Deng's contract and take somebody to take that contract.
I'm not in the league.
Okay, right? Somebody, pay me to not play any day you want. Pay me to not show up to practice any day you want. The point is that we're looking at the Lakers through the lens of what they looked like most of last year. And they're going to look completely differently. And they're going to offer LeBron James the opportunity to, hey, work with us. We're going to remake this team. We now have Magic. We also have Rob Pelinka, who was a really successful agent. Some guys he represented, some that he has relationships with. And let's remake the Lakers roster with some of these young pieces, but then the veteran pieces you can win with. So I don't disagree with you in terms of what it looks like now. But what it could look like, remember, didn't win it in his first year in Miami. It was his second year. Didn't win it in his first year in Cleveland. It was his second year. And I think that's kind of the plan that's in place. And that's why I still think the Lakers. And then you have all those other ancillary reasons that it would make sense.
So where do you think is the best basketball fit?
I would say Texas, anywhere in Texas, Houston or San Antonio. I think he's never played for a Hall of Fame coach. I think Popovich is a great situation. He's never played with a player like Kawhi, the best two-way player in the game. I think that's a great situation for him. City-wise, no. But as far as winning-wise, I think that'll be a great situation. Houston, yeah, you never know how that's going to work out because they still got to add pieces. But San Antonio, I think the way Pop coached, the way they run their organization, Pop will put the right pieces to right him. And we all know Pop is a genius at getting great players into that second round, into that first round.
But doesn't he tell them, doesn't everyone have to check their ego at the door? Don't you have to, isn't the rule get over yourself, right? Like LeBron.
In San Antonio?
Yes.
Well,
is LeBron going to get, he's not a guy that gets over himself.
Well, I don't think that'll be a problem with Pop because I think they have mutual respect.
LeBron
Pop respects him,
Pop, man.
and Pop respects him as a player.
But everybody says you love, I'd love to play for Pop until you get coached by Pop. You really want to be coached.
He loves players with a high basketball IQ. So when you have that high basketball IQ, he gives you room to make a lot of mistakes. He gives you room to lead the team. He gives you room to coach the team. And if you see, I say this all the time, you look at a lot of San Antonio timeouts. Pop gives the clipboard to his players and let them go call the plays and let them draw plays. So Pop really trusts his players. And a guy like LeBron James, he would love to have.
And in San Antonio, LeBron can be the point guard.
Yes.
Dejounte Murray's a fine backup. Tony Parker's done.
Thank you.
Kawhi doesn't have to change position.
No.
LaMarcus doesn't have to change position. From a basketball standpoint, I love San Antonio. I just don't. When LeBron has talked so much about my sons are going to be involved, my wife's going to be involved, like that's a tough
His
putt.
family can live in L.A. and he can play in another city. That can happen.
Come on, man.
That can happen. That can happen.
I mean, like, listen, I do think the family actually does matter. I think they want to go to one of their homes, and the home is L.A. or the home is stay in Cleveland. And I think, San Antonio feels like one of those pipe dreams. Like, man, if we could ever make this work.
I'd love to see him with Pop. I think it'd be special.
I think everybody said that's like bringing Dwayne Wade back to Cleveland. It sounds like a good idea until you put it back together.
Well, let me real quick though, because you mentioned the him playing in San Antonio. Or how much stock do you put into LeBron's? Like, what do you think is the most important part of this decision for LeBron right now? Is it about championships or is it about setting up the end of his career?
Well, none of us actually know that because we're not LeBron. I mean, to me, I think it's a little bit of both. Obviously, his family's first, and it should be. He want to make sure they're in a great situation, they're comfortable, they're happy with their living situation. But knowing LeBron, he wants to win. He wants to be in a situation where he continue to get better, and he's not getting scrutinized of not winning games or going to a team for other reasons. I think winning is a big part of it, too, but we never know what
I think he wants to be the all-time leading scorer. I think he wants to win, and I think he wants all that other stuff. And that's why all of that together means L.A., even if they don't win a championship. And I think that's the big question.
You got 5 seconds. Do you think there's any chance he stays in Cleveland?
Not at all.
Yeah, me neither. Cool. They're not the best fit. Now, that doesn't mean he won't go there. But the idea that, LeBron can't go to Philly, they don't have enough shooting. Well, the Lakers were the second worst three-point shooting team in the league last year. They were a bottom 5 catch-and-shoot three-point shooting team. Oh, well, if he goes to Los Angeles, he's bringing Paul George with him. Well, that's nice. That's one piece. That's one guy that can shoot. And if you're talking about beating the Warriors, I get it. You Paul George, he can guard KD as well as nobody can really guard KD, much like nobody can really guard LeBron. But Paul George is long and athletic and can at least give him some problems. I understand that part of it. But I think the best fit is Philly or Boston. And people with Philly, they say, oh, well, he and Ben Simmons have a redundant skill set. That's only looking at one side of the ball. Embiid plus Simmons plus LeBron instantly becomes the best defense in basketball. Instantly. Becomes the best defense in the NBA. And while you don't have a lot of shooting with that lineup, what you do have is size in a league that's going small, athletic size, switchable size, and movable size. So I think Philly's a better fit. But I don't know if this is going to be about fit. I think LeBron might be thinking, man, I just took this team to the finals, where my second best player is Kevin Love. And by the way, game 6 and 7 against Boston didn't even have him. And we should have won game 1. We were right there in game 3. I played with a broken hand the last week. So how much does it matter who's on my team as long as I'm on my team?
Well, and as long as you're in the East as well, right? Now, I do think that this is not a stationary target. The East is going to be better next year. If he doesn't go to Philly, we would think will add a piece or two with that money from J.J. Redick. Boston's coming. Let's start with your Boston thing, which you plug him in. I'm assuming you're moving Kyrie Irving, okay? Which obviously would not sit well with Kyrie Irving, right? Like, you finally got away from LeBron, now you get traded. But if I'm Boston, you're splitting tens. You have a winning hand. Okay, why run the risk of upsetting the apple cart when you already have a winning hand?
Because you get a better player, and you would get a player that's locked in. You don't know that you're going to have Kyrie more than 1 year. You don't know the health of Kyrie's knee. You don't know how much better you are with Kyrie due to his defensive deficiencies. And you have a guy that, you know who you want Jason Tatum to become? LeBron. So you have him learn from LeBron. Like, for all those reasons, I don't think it's splitting tens, but go ahead.
My point is, I think Boston is right there to be the best team in the East. So, you still haven't even seen him with Gordon Hayward, let alone with Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving yet. As for Philadelphia, again, I think you're looking at a stationary target. Remember, LeBron is not moving. He's smartly taking plays off defensively. You're depending upon Joel Embiid to be healthy. You're depending upon either Ben Simmons or LeBron James to play without the ball for the first time in their career, and they are losing some shooting from last year. Here's the thing with L.A. What they've done is they've gutted the back end of their roster. They've allowed it to, when he sits down with them, they can say, look, we had Paul George and you got Lonzo, you got Kuzma, and then let's pick some of the other pieces that you want to add. I think it's more of a blank slate. Are any of them perfect fits? No. The East is an easier path, although the Celtics should be much more competitive if he went to Philadelphia. I think L.A., we look at the West as so dominant, but Houston's going to have to remake themselves with some contracts. And Golden State appears to be, maybe in the last year, we already talked about the Draymond contract and the Durant contract. And again, the point you made is probably the best one, which is there is a confidence/arrogance to LeBron. He goes to Miami, they go to the finals right away. He goes to Cleveland, they stink, they go to the final right away. So we can sit here and go, hey, if he goes to the West, he's not going to go to the finals. But you're LeBron James. Everywhere you've gone. Every team you face, you've gone there. If you get other players around him, why should he believe that he can't win with the Los Angeles Lakers?
Even money now that that LeBron's going to the Lakers, how much will this change back and forth before a decision?
What I'll say is this. If we looked at the last 2 times LeBron changed teams, there was the overwhelming favorite on this day, a few days after the season ended, is not where he went.
Oh, interesting.
Right? So, like, the overwhelming favorite the first time was he's staying in Cleveland, and then I think after that it was Chicago. The second time it was he's staying in Miami. Like, people were really Miami gained more, or Cleveland gained more momentum as the offseason draw on. But right when the season ended, people were like, he's not going back to Cleveland, back to Dan Gilbert. So the fact that the Lakers are the overwhelming favorite right now it's not a sure thing.
No. Well, listen, like he gave us some clues about Miami last time. Okay, and here's the clues that we have this time. All right, he said family is important. He said that his life has changed since the last 2 decisions.
That his son's getting input.
Right, and so they have 2 homes in Los Angeles. They have obviously a huge spread in Akron. And I think if you read the tea leaves that everybody's reading the NBA, that his family wants to be in a home. It's no disrespect to Houston. It's no disrespect to Philly or to Boston or to San Antonio or Timbuktu.
You think it's one of those 2?
I do.
And I think Cleveland's been totally eliminated, which would then mean if Doug's right and I'm right, which is unlikely, but that it's just Los Angeles.
It's unlikely that you're right or that we agree.
No, that we would both be correct on something we're seeing slightly differently.